Hare Krishna to all the Richmond devotees. Thank you very much for having me back on your Saturday Sangha. First of all, please accept my humble obeisances. Vancha kalpataru bhayasya kripa sindhueva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Ananta koti Vaishnavrinda ki jai. Srila Prabhupad ki jai. So, today I've been given the service to speak on Prabhupada Leela. So I'm very glad to have this opportunity to speak about Srila Prabhupada. I pray to Srila Prabhupada to bless me so that I can speak something for the pleasure of devotees and for my purification. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin iti namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Desha Tarine Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Gnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurinmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Vartaman ISKCON Guru Vrinda Ki Jai. I've taken this sloka from Caitanya-Caritamrita Madhya Leela. It is a conversation between Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Sanatan Goswami. So I'll be drawing from there. So in this sloka, 26 qualities of Vaishnava are mentioned. So what we'll do today is we'll take up each and every quality and we will talk about what this quality means, and we'll quote from Srila Prabhupada's Leela, how we can see that quality in Srila Prabhupada. Then also we will discuss as devotees how can we develop these qualities in our lives. So today I'll be giving lots of examples from this very wonderful book that I had read some time ago called Memories. They have, I think, 3 volumes. I heard they're also coming up with a volume 4. And before I start this class, I want to share one very, very beautiful offering that I had read in that book from Jai Gauranga Prabhu. He was mentioning that how once in a Bhagavad Gita class, after Prabhupada's class, when Mathaji asked a question, she said, Prabhupada, you said that at the end of our life, at the time of death, if we remember Krishna, then we go back to Krishna. What if I remember you? Will I have the same effect? And then Prabhupada paused, he closed his eyes, and after 3 seconds or something, he just opened and he said, yes, it will have the same effect. And when I read that, I was so happy because it is difficult maybe for us to remember Krishna, but it is more easy to remember the devotees of Krishna because of our interaction with them. And when Prabhupada mentioned something like this, it was so interesting that yes, when we remember the devotees of the Lord, it may have the same effect, or it will have the same effect. Now I thought that was very logical also, because you see in Srimad Bhagavatam, when this Ambarish Maharaj episode comes in the 9th canto, chapter 4, where Krishna makes a statement. He says, Sadhavo hridayam mayyam sadhunam hridayam tvaham mad anyat tena jananti naham tebhyo managapi. I don't know anybody except my devotee, and my devotee doesn't know anybody except me. I am in his heart and he is in my heart. So when we are remembering the devotees of the Lord, but they are carrying Krishna in their heart. So it does have the same effect. And I thought it was so beautiful. Because, see, those who are very serious students in Krishna consciousness, for them, okay, this process is like they seriously follow everything and maybe one day they will just go back to Krishna. But what about devotees like us who are not very serious? We are always looking for some kind of a cheat, or some kind of a, like, how can we get the same result even if we are not following it same sincerely? And what I came across of the many years that I could get the association of devotees is 2 cheats, which I can share with you today. 2 simple cheats or 2 simple tips by which we can get the same effect what the sincere devotees get. So one is by remembering the pure devotees of the Lord, because they are carrying Krishna all the time in their heart. Sometimes, when you are in a temple full of devotees, and hundreds and thousands of devotees. You're in Mayapur, and you're wondering that if Radha Madhav is even looking at you or not, because there's so many devotees out there, they may be better devotees than you. But then there is something that you can do. Even though there may be other devotees out there, you can make sure that Krishna is looking at you. And that you can do is by remembering his pure devotee in your heart. So at that moment when there is this temple full packed of devotees, you just say Srila Prabhupada ki jai. And the moment you say Srila Prabhupada ki jai, even among this huge crowd of devotees, Krishna will look at you. Who is that who is calling out the name of my pure devotee? So that is one way to attract Krishna's attention. When you are carrying his pure devotee in your heart, when you are carrying the instructions of his pure devotee in your heart, when you are remembering his pure devotee, then Krishna immediately looks at you. Who is that who is calling out my pure devotee's name? And one another thing that we can do is whenever we are in a room full of devotees, a lot of devotees, what we usually try to do is come in the front so that we can have a better view of the Lord. But what we can actually do is stand behind the devotees of the Lord. Because even if we are in front, we are not sure if Krishna is going to look at us. And let's say even if he looks at us, maybe he will be put off. Oh my God, this devotee is full of kama, krodha, moha, mada. Oh, he's smelling. I don't want to even look at him. But he will definitely look at his pure devotees. And if we somehow stand behind his pure devotees, then while looking at his devotees, he may somehow by chance look at us. So these are the two cheats that I have discovered, and we can follow that. Just stand behind some devotee in the arti, and when Krishna is looking at them, we'll also come in a frame, This is something like, sometimes when, you are with some VIP, you just somehow want to squeeze inside the photo frame and even your photo will come. So that is what we have to do, is just somehow stand behind a devotee, not in front. And so that when Krishna looks at them, he will look at us too, right? So we're very, very fortunate to get this opportunity to associate with this pure devotee, even if not physically. We're able to associate with Srila Prabhupada through his books, through his Vani, through his disciples who are also his representatives. So today we will glorify this glorious soldier, this favorite devotee of Lord Shri Krishna, Srila Prabhupada, because the more we glorify him, the more we hear about him, the more he will be in our memory, the more we will remember him. Padma Puran says that about whom we regularly talk, discuss and hear, we get 1% of his quality. Now the way Srila Prabhupada is, even if we get 1% of his quality in this lifetime, we'll be liberated. So the more we think about him, talk about him, hear about him, and he's in our memory, and we carry him in our heart, then there are every chance that Krishna will look at us. So before we start, I'll just read this whole sloka of 26 qualities, and then we'll dive into one quality. So here it says, kripalu akrita-droha satya-saara sama nidosha vadaanya mridu shuchi akinchana sarvopakaaraka shanta krishnaika-sharana akaama aniiha sthira vijita-shad-guna mita-bhuk apramatta maanada amaanii gambhiira karuna maitra kavidaksha mauni. 26 qualities of a Vaishnava. So the first quality here it says kripalu. Kripalu means, the English translation is one who is merciful. Now what to speak about this? This is one very literal quality. Srila Prabhupada is the personification of mercy. Here I've taken a lot of my notes of today's class from His Holiness Satswarup Das Goswami Maharaj's book, which I had come across a couple of years ago. It's called 26 Qualities of a Devotee. I don't know if that book is still available. I think it's out of print, and there Maharaj explains about every quality so beautifully. So here he says that merciful actually means one who is showing his mercy to the suffering living entities by bringing them back to their home, or by connecting them back to Krishna, or by reviving their eternal relationship with Krishna. That is the definition of merciful. And we can see that Srila Prabhupada, that is what his life's whole essence was. At this ripe old age, he went to America, he went to different parts of the world, travel around the world to get all the living entities connect back to Krishna. A couple of years ago, I was hearing one very beautiful lecture by His Holiness Bhakti Charu Swami Maharaj, and in the class, Maharaj was asking, so, do you all understand how much Srila Prabhupada has sacrificed, how much he has worked hard, and he was on and on. So, do you all understand what he has done? And everybody sitting in the class was like nodding their head, And then Maharaj made a statement. He said, no, you cannot understand. You will never understand. And everybody is like looking at Maharaj, what is he trying to say? And then Maharaj repeated again. He said, no, you can never understand. You will never understand until you become 70-year-old. Until you become 70-year-old, you can never understand what Prabhupada did for us. And that class was very impressive and I liked it. It was nice. But I had the practical understanding of that, what Maharaj said that day, 2-3 years back. My Guru Maharaj, His Holiness Jayapataka Swami Maharaj had come to Vishakhapatnam. So now we are building this temple which is right on the beach. It's a 3 floors temple with the basement, ground and first floor. So on the ground floor there is this Kalyan Mandapam, and on the first floor is the temple. So we wanted Guru Maharaj to see. The construction is still going on, it's not completed. So we took Guru Maharaj with his wheelchair. He saw the Kalyan Mandapam, very nice. Then we told Guru Maharaj, now we want to take you upstairs to see the temple. So the Mahavara Prabhu and other secretaries were like, no, there is no railing, to go up there because construction is still going on. And I was insisting. I said, Guru Maharaj, if you just come once and see the temple floor, it is sea facing, with a sea view deck, and the view is so beautiful, you love it, Guru Maharaj, once you have to come. So while the discussion was going on, Guru Maharaj heard that there is no railing, so it's not safe. So Guru Maharaj said, whatever it is, I believe it must be looking very beautiful, but I don't want to go up. And I was insisting, and Guru Maharaj was saying no. And then he became, little bit like angry. He said, I said, I'm not going to go up, okay? I'm not going up. So he just asked them to put the wheelchair back. Now I was just contemplating in my mind, because he's been my guru since my childhood, my school days. So I've seen him, when I was very young, maybe class 5 and 6, I used to see him in Hyderabad temple, and I know how daring Guru Maharaj is. He's very daring. He's like, those kind of a guys who will like, if nobody even ventures, he's the one who will be the first one to venture. So I was like, is this Guru Maharaj telling that I don't want to go up, I don't want, it's not safe. Then I thought 2 things in my mind. One is maybe because of his health, and the other thing I was thinking is because of the age. You see, after a certain age, you just don't want to take a risk. You just don't want to do something with, with uncertainty. You don't want to take a risk. Now, I'm not trying to give this example to show that Guru Maharaj is not taking risk or he's afraid. What I'm just trying to draw comparison is that what Srila Prabhupada did that at that age is something really amazing. I think no youngsters can understand. Only after somebody passes a certain age, 40, 50, 60, 70, when they come to that age, they can actually understand what Prabhupada did, because at that age, your body is fragile. You're not having that energy and enthusiasm to take some new project or something. You don't want to risk. You just want to be in your comfort zone. And at that time, if somebody is doing such kind of a venture, how much love he must be having for his Guru Maharaj, how much sincerity he must be having, how much mercy he must be having on the living entities, that he is taking such kind of a risk. Just the other day, myself and my husband, we were discussing that, see, because of this lockdown, we are not able to give so much physical association to the devotees and the community at large. So we were just discussing that I hope, even though this e-association and e-darshan and e-thing is there, but then definitely it's not a replacement to the physical interaction, So we were just trying to discuss that I just hope everybody stays strong in sadhana, in Krishna consciousness, because this may go on for a few more months. And then I was contemplating that we give so much association to devotees, but just a 3-4 months or 5 months of association given less, we are worried whether they will be able to keep up their Krishna consciousness. And imagine the disciples of Srila Prabhupada, they hardly had his association maybe few months, or maybe some of them who were lucky enough had few years, but I'm sure none of them had more association than maybe 10 years, because he started 1966-67 sometime, and 77 he already left. So maybe the maximum somebody must have had association was 10 years or 11 years, not more than that. Now imagine for that 10 years of association that they had, rest of their 40 years of life, they have given up. They have given the 40 years of their life, they have dedicated the 40 years of their life for that 10 years of association that they had with Srila Prabhupada. That's about it. Now this I'm speaking on the higher side, but there may be some people who had maybe 1 day's association, 1 minute's association, half day's association, no association, letter association, just Vani association. But how much dedication they have, that for that few minutes of association they have dedicated rest of their life for this organization, rest of their life for Srila Prabhupada's mission. So how much sincere they are, right? So it is like Srila Prabhupada created flowers, not followers. Every disciple of Srila Prabhupada is like a flower, right? So, by the fruits we can understand the quality of the tree. So today what we see Srila Prabhupada disciples, we can understand what Srila Prabhupada is like or must have been like, right? So yes, Srila Prabhupada is kripalu. He is kripalu. I was reading one place where Rupa Vilas Prabhu was saying that Srila Prabhupada once made a statement. He said, this is not only International Society for Krishna Consciousness. He said, this is International Society for all living entities. For all living entities. That means his vision was not limited of giving Krishna consciousness only to humans. He actually wanted to give Krishna consciousness to everybody, whoever comes across. That is why you see Srila Prabhupada encouraged Nagar Sankirtan. He wanted Nagar Sankirtan, he wants loud chanting, because he wants everybody should be benefited, whether there are birds or animals or insects or just about any living entity, everybody should be benefited with Harinam. I was hearing this very beautiful pastime of Srila Prabhupada, how once he was having a prasadam. And when he was having prasadam, then he saw a small housefly sitting next to his plate of prasadam. And Srila Prabhupada was going on keenly observing that housefly. And the devotee who was serving prasadam was a little surprised. What is Prabhupada trying to do? And then after some time, Prabhupada said, did you see that? And he said, what, Prabhupada? This housefly is very weak. Maybe it has not eaten. It's not able to fly. Give some food. Give some food to this. Now that disciple was amazed. Now who in the world is going to think about feeding a housefly? He wanted to feed the housefly also. Give some prasadam. Looks like the housefly is weak. So Srila Prabhupada, yeah, he is kripalu. He is kripalu. He is kripalu. He wanted to share this mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to just about everybody he comes in touch with. I was hearing one other very beautiful pastime happened in Calcutta when Srila Prabhupada was in Vrindavan, and the Calcutta temple president, he called and he said that one of your early disciple has come to the Calcutta temple, and Prabhupada, he is smoking ganja. So what are we supposed to do? So then Prabhupada asked Tamal Krishna Maharaj, he said, call him and give the message that if he doesn't stop taking ganja, then I will reject him. So then Tamil Krishna Maharaj passed the message. The Prabhupada says if he doesn't stop taking ganja, then Prabhupada is going to reject him. After giving the message, Tamil Krishna Maharaj came to Srila Prabhupada and he asked him, Prabhupada, so do you really mean it? Are you going to reject him if he doesn't give up ganja? Then Prabhupada smiled and said, no, I will not. I cannot reject anybody. And then Tamil Krishna Maharaj said, but Prabhupada, somewhere you have to draw a line, is it not? You can't forgive them like that. And then Prabhupada had tears in his eyes and he says, well, there is no limitation for Nityananda's mercy. Nityananda's mercy is for everybody. It is for everybody. And he was so emotional about it. And then Tamil Krishna Maharaj was sharing that Srila Prabhupada was in that mood of Nityananda. He just wants to give Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy, Krishna's mercy to everybody. So yes, Srila Prabhupada is kripalu. If we'll just keep going to the other qualities, otherwise each and every quality is actually so much to say in itself that we can have one class simply on one quality of Srila Prabhupada. Now, how do we get that quality in us? Because this is the goal of our lives. We also have to somehow nourish or develop these 26 qualities in our lives too, because these 26 qualities are the qualities of a Vaishnava. That's what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says. That means he expects that everybody who calls themselves Vaishnava should have this quality. Now the question is, how do we become kripalu? We don't even have anything to give kripa. Neither we have bhakti, shakti, buddhi, nothing we have. So how do we get this quality? So it's very simple. See, during the festivals, everybody is given some or the other seva to do. Now, sometimes some devotees, they do service of distributing prasadam. Now, the devotees who have been assigned to distribute prasadam, it's not that that devotee has cooked the prasadam. It's not that that devotee has sponsored the prasadam. It is not that that devotee has bought the ingredients to make the prasadam. Maybe he has no role in that prasadam. The only thing that he's doing is, he's just taking that sweet rice from the big vessel and he's putting it in the small leaflet or a cup and dona and distributing it to the visitor. That is the only service he's doing. Similarly, we may not have kripa, we may not have intelligence, we may not have bhakti, we may not have shakti, we may not have anything. But what we can simply do is, that mercy which Srila Prabhupada wants to distribute, that Krishna's mercy, which he wants to distribute, we can simply assist him. So the mercy is his, but we can just be like that distributor, volunteer devotee who just takes it, puts it in a cup and gives it. So this is a role which we can play, is by assisting our guru, by assisting the authorities, by assisting the senior Vaishnavas, by assisting the other preachers. If some or the other humble way, if we can assist them in distributing that mercy, then even we can be called to have the quality of kripalu. Because otherwise, on our own, we don't have any such mood or realization or intelligence that, okay, I need to help, because we ourselves need a lot of help. But yes, we can be assistants to those people who are giving mercy. So this is one thing we can do. So going to the second quality, akrita-droha. Swarup Maharaj says akrita-droha means, in English translation, is non-defiant. Non-defiant, a devotee who is humble, who is non-envious, who is having no enmity with anybody, who accepts his position as a servant of Krishna. And we can see that quality in Srila Prabhupada, akrita-droha. He had no enemies. He had no enemies. He was not envious of anybody. He was always in a mood of being servant of Krishna. He had no fight with anybody. He was not envious, even though his god brothers gave him so much trouble. But he was always nice to them. In fact, when he came back from America, he really wanted all of them to preach together. He even invited them, let us preach together. Of course, it was they who made a problem for him. Like, we know this, how Bon Maharaj, he actually reinitiated one of Srila Prabhupada disciples, right? So, and then there were some of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas who were actually criticizing Srila Prabhupada, and then they were disturbing his disciples, and that is when Srila Prabhupada had to say that don't go anywhere, or don't go to the Gaudiya Mutt, and don't read any other book, but only follow my books. But otherwise, in the beginning, Srila Prabhupada was a very, very open. But in fact, at one point when one of the Srila Prabhupada disciple was criticizing Srila Prabhupada's god brother in front of him, that yes, Prabhupada, you are right, they speak like this, they speak like that, they are like this, then immediately Srila Prabhupada cut him short, said, who are you to speak like this about my god brother? I will tell, that is on our level, but for you, you should be respectful to them, don't criticize a Vaishnava. So he never had any enemy. He was never argumentative with anybody. Now, somebody may question, how can you say that? Srila Prabhupada was always in a mood of argument, in the sense he was always ready to defeat if somebody said. Now that is different. On a personal level, he didn't have anything with anybody. When it comes to tattva, when it comes to philosophy, then he was, he wouldn't tolerate if somebody speaks this way or that way. But otherwise, on a personal level, he was very humble. Only thing, if somebody speaks against Krishna something, then he becomes defiant. Oh, how can you say like that? Now, there is one incident of how once one press reporter was asking Srila Prabhupada that, are you a pure devotee? And Prabhupada very confidently said, yes. And then the press reporter asked, can you show me Krishna? And Prabhupada said, yes. And then the reporter said, can you show me now? And Prabhupada said, yes, if you shave your head and become like my other disciples, I can definitely show you Krishna. But on the other occasion, when his disciples asked him that, Prabhupada, are you a pure devotee? At that time, Prabhupada started crying. He said, no, I'm not a pure devotee. I'm just an ordinary person. I'm just trying to sincerely follow my Guru's instruction, but I'm not a pure devotee. I'm just an ordinary person. So yeah, Prabhupada, he had no enemies. His fighting was only if somebody was speaking against Krishna. But otherwise, on his personal level, he was very, 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 very humble. Very, very humble, right? So like this, how can we get this this quality of akrita-droha? So this is a very big topic in itself, how we should try to be non-envious, or when we appreciate other devotees, when we appreciate the good qualities in other devotees, when we hear the glorification of other devotees, when we have gratitude for other devotees, when we understand that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, when we are in this mood that we are servant of Krishna, our connection with Krishna, then we'll also get the mood of akrita-droha, because then we understand that we are temporary in this world and the permanent relationship is with Krishna. Then we'll have no enmity with others. The third quality is satya-saara. Satya-saara means one who does not lie, or we can even put it as one who does not lie and who accepts the absolute truth, that is Krishna. That is satya-saara. One who accepts that Krishna is the absolute truth. That person is said to have the quality of satya-saara, right? So we see that in Srila Prabhupada. He never lied. Actually, Brahmanas never lie. One of the quality of a devotee, of a Brahman, is that he doesn't lie. Yeah, we know this very famous story of Gautam Muni. How once he had one boy coming to him and asking him that, you're teaching so nice archery to everybody, can you teach me too? And Gautam Muni said, are you a Brahmin? And the boy said, I don't know. So Gautam Muni said, go and ask your mother. So he just goes and asks his mother, who is actually a prostitute. And she says, I have no idea whether your father is a Brahmin or Kshatriya, I don't know. Now this boy, he goes back to Gautam Muni's ashram, and in front of all his other disciples, when Gautam Muni asked him, so, did you ask your mother, who is your father? And in front of everybody, fearlessly, he says, my mother says she doesn't know. And Gautam Muni immediately says, you are a Brahmin, for sure, because you are not speaking lie, you spoke the truth.
Because he could have been diplomatic, or he could have simply said lie. Yeah, my mother said I'm a son of Brahmin. But he spoke the truth as it is. That is one of the inbuilt quality of a Brahmin. They don't speak lie. So he said, I don't know. My mother said she doesn't know. Then Gautam Muni immediately accepted him. So this is one quality of a Vaishnava, satya-saara. So we see that Srila Prabhupada was so frank when it came about tattva. He was never shying away from the truth, whatever it was, even when he spoke with big people, even with the big Swamijis of different sampradayas, or even for that matter when he spoke with the Christian preachers. He was very frank, on their face he told them that you are not following the Bible. In the Bible it says, thou shall not kill, but you are killing, you are not following. So he didn't shy away, he was very frank, he always spoke the truth. So that is one quality of a Vaishnava, that he speaks the truth. Even at some times when some of the people used to argue with him, and then they wanted to end the argument or the vada, usually or on particular point on the scripture, they want to end it well. So they used to say, okay Swamiji, you are also right, we are also right. And Prabhupada used to say, no, you are wrong, I am right, you are wrong. And he was so confident about it. He never bended, okay, or no, all right. No, he was very pakka, right? So of course, at the same time, see, when said this, that devotees are not supposed to speak lie, we should understand first of all what is lie. Sometimes we don't even know what is lie. So like I said, every quality we have to understand how we can follow in our life. This one thing, that how we can follow in our life is by not speaking anything but Krishna Katha, because except Krishna Katha, whatever we are speaking is actually lie. Say for example, you just call somebody and say that, I have this property or I have this money. Now it is a lie, because it's not your property, it is Krishna's property. Suppose you call somebody and said, today I did this or I did that, but actually you didn't do anything, Krishna made you do it. So if you just see your day-to-day life, whatever you are talking apart from Krishna Katha is nothing but lie. It's nothing but lie, because you are temporary in this world and you assume everything belongs to you, everything is yours, and you speak in that context. So you are speaking lie. So that is why if we want to have this quality of satya-saara, is we should stop gossips. We should try to talk as minimum as possible, because otherwise what we are simply doing is speaking lie. And even if, and the other way of making sure that we get this quality of satya-saara is by keeping up our initiation vows. Because we have taken certain vows during initiation about chanting 16 rounds, following principles or whatever, or assisting our guru in spreading Krishna consciousness. So if we are not keeping up that vows, then we are not satya-saara, right? So we see this quality of satya-saara in Srila Prabhupada, how he was so frank, and he never gave up on, or never bended, the philosophy, or molded, or, compromised, right? The next quality is sama. Sama. Bhagavad Gita 5.18, Pandita Samadarshana. Those who are Vaishnavas, they are sama. We see this quality in Srila Prabhupada. For him, everybody was important. Everybody. He never thought this devotee is more important, or this is a small devotee, his services are not so important. For him, every single devotee was important. Every single devotee. In fact, even if a small devotee used to leave the movement, Prabhupada used to write to Rameshwar Prabhu that he's like my son, please somehow try to get him back, he has left the movement. So it's not that only for stalwart preachers, his mercy was for everybody. If you read Prabhupada Leelas, you see how once one devotee called Lakshmi Nrsimhadev Prabhu is mentioning that how I was not one of the stalwart big preacher or something, I was just a normal devotee. But even though once I paid obeisances to Srila Prabhupada and his car was going away, he made sure to come back for me, roll down his the window pane of his car, and he blessed me. And he was so particular, for him emotion of every single devotee was so important, and he reciprocated with everybody so beautifully. So we see this quality of Srila Prabhupada is sama. He was nice to everybody, friendly with everybody, with all jiva, all kind of people. And if we want to develop this quality in us, we'll have to have a little discrimination because we are not on the level of Srila Prabhupada. That is why Rupa Goswami has given us a very nice formula that how can we be sama. So we being sama is loving Krishna, being friendly with devotees, showing compassion for innocents, and staying away from atheists. That is our way of being sama. Because if we start taking this quality of sama literally, then we will start associating with everybody equally. But we are not on that level to take everybody's association equally. Because if we start, after hearing today's class that we have to be sama and we start too much association with non-devotees and going around with them, then we may lose our bhakti. So the standard that we are, Rupa Goswami has given us a nice formula, all right, love for Krishna and compassion for devotees, and for innocent devotees have compassion, and for the atheists stay away. So that way we are sama. If we follow this 4-tier formula, then we are sama. Next quality is nidosha, faultless. Faultless. A devotee is faultless. Of course, Srila Prabhupada is faultless. But generally one may have a question that, oh my God, how can this quality be there in everybody? Because everybody at some point, somewhere will have some fault. But what Prabhupada said is that devotees are faultless because they are worshipping the perfect person. They are worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, who is faultless, who is perfect. So because we are worshipping Him, the perfect person, that is why we can also be perfect. So it's possible for us to be perfect if we are worshipping the perfect personality of Godhead, that is Sri Krishna. So of course in Srila Prabhupada, yes, we see he never had any faults in him, and he never saw fault in others. He never saw fault in others. He was always so loving, and even if somebody apparently had a fault, he used to dovetail them in such a way, that becomes the strength of that devotee. He never exposed them or made them feel bad about it, right? I remember this one story of a devotee called Jagat Chakshu Das. So once in that book he shares that how when he was given this name Jagat Chakshu, he said, during my initiation, Srila Prabhupada was looking right into my eyes and he told me that you are the servant of that Krishna who sees everything, who can see everything. And that Prabhuji says that when Prabhupada said like that, I thought Prabhupada is able to see that I am the one who is stealing Mangalarti sweets. That is why Prabhupada is telling me that you are the servant of that Krishna who can see everything, and Krishna is seeing that you are the one who is stealing Mangalarti sweets. And then, he was like, Prabhupada didn't say anything, but he said everything by giving me that name. And then later on, this was in Venezuela, and later on when he came back from book distribution, Prabhupada called him in his room and asked him that, how is the book distribution today? And then Prabhuji said, yeah, this many books I distributed. And then Prabhupada had this jar of sweets on his table, and he just took some sweets and gave it to him, looking right into his eyes. And he said that at that time I felt as if Prabhupada is telling me that, look, you don't have to steal sweets, you just do good service and I'll give you sweets myself. So like that, Prabhupada himself had no fault, and if anybody did have any fault, he didn't expose them, but he just very, very subtly and very beautiful way he molded them. But then again, having said that, there are times where Prabhupada did expose publicly fault. But again, we can't say why. We can't ask why Prabhupada did that, because Prabhupada is a doctor. Just like the doctor, sometimes to somebody he says, just take curd, it's good for you. Only curd, and it'll be good for your stomach. And to some people, the doctor will say you should take everything but not curd. curd is not good for you. So doctor gives a different treatment to different people. So like that, Srila Prabhupada, for some devotees, he was so careful not to chastise them publicly. But then for some devotees, where it is required, he did chastise publicly. I was reading this very beautiful book by Shrutakirti Prabhu, What is the Difficulty? It's one of my very, very favorite book. If the devotees out there in the forum have read it, well and good. But if you haven't, don't miss that. Don't miss that book. It's one amazing book. One amazing. In fact, we can have one whole class simply on that book. We don't need to do any other references. Amazing book. So therein, this Shrutakirti Prabhu is talking about this particular incident, where he is first time publicly chastised by Prabhupada. It is sometime in 1972 near the Rupa Goswami Bhajan Kutir in Radha Damodar temple. And Prabhupada is giving a class to all his disciples, and lots of house flies are coming and disturbing Prabhupada. So Prabhupada is just waving them off with his hand. So Shrutakirti Prabhu, who was there, his seva was to record. He immediately got up, took a chamar, and he started fanning Srila Prabhupada. Now, in between the fanning, suddenly, he was like taken over by the, he just wanted to do it very artistically. So instead of actually driving away the houseflies, he was just trying to do it like the ISKCON pujaris. They do it in the altar, very artistically, just waving it like this and like that. And in between, he's just looking if the audience are looking at him or not, because he was doing it so artistically, fanning it. And then he was not looking whether it is helpful to Prabhupada or not. And at one point, the fan touched the cow dung. Because see, those days there were no tiles in the Radha Damodar temple parikrama. It was all muddy. So now the fan is inside the cow dung, and then Shrutakirti Prabhu goes again up and down, and Srila Prabhupada got so upset. And he said, can you send somebody intelligent here? Can some intelligent person come here? That means what he meant to say is that, he's a fool. Can you just ask somebody who has some brain to come here? And then immediately Shrutakirti Prabhu says, I was freezed, for a second I didn't know what to do. I couldn't move. And then Kunja Bihari Prabhu, a brahmachari at that time, was sitting there. And then he immediately got up and took the fan from Shrutakirti Prabhu's hand, and he started fanning Srila Prabhupada. And Prabhupada was very happy because he was doing it so perfectly. And then Prabhupada, in between his class, he just looked at him very approvingly that I'm satisfied with your service. And then Shrutakirti Prabhu says that after that, in the evening, everybody is coming and telling me that you are so lucky, Srila Prabhupada chastised you, even getting his chastisement is such a big fortune. So Shrutakirti Prabhu says, at that time I really didn't understand what it means, what is fortune if Prabhupada publicly criticizes you. But he said, today when I sit and contemplate, I feel, oh, how fortunate that was. Oh, how I wish I can again get this opportunity, Srila Prabhupada, to fan you. And I promise you, Prabhupada, this time I'll do it nicely. I'll not make any mistake. But then again he writes in a footnote, he said, no, Prabhupada, don't give me that service, because again I may get ego. So instead of having that desire to fan you, maybe I should fan Kunja Bihari Prabhu, who did that service to you so beautifully. Maybe I should do that service to him, Prabhupada. And then he writes one very beautiful statement, which personally I have kept it in my heart. He said, remember that service is not to please you, it is for pleasing Guru. And I thought that was so beautiful, that whenever we also attempt to do any service, before we start doing that service, we should have this one thing in our mind. Before we do that service, while we do that service, and when we complete that service was not for pleasing me or my satisfaction or boosting my ego or a sense of achievement that, wow, I did it. It was simply to please Guru. And such a beautiful statement. In whole of his book, What is the Difficulty? He makes such beautiful statements. Every statement brings a tear to the eye. The way he expresses it, his feelings for Prabhupada and the right mood, how we are supposed to serve Guru and Krishna. So, coming back, nidosha, faultless. Srila Prabhupada is faultless, right? There was one other incident I'm reminded of. It happened in Indore, Hamsadutta Prabhu was Prabhupada's secretary at that time, and Prabhupada was giving classes. So while he was giving classes, Hamsadutta Prabhu is free, nothing much to do. So Prabhupada told him that, look, you're free, so why can't you go and make some life member? So he said, okay, Prabhupada. So next day Prabhupada asked him, so did you go? He said, well, Prabhupada, I didn't go because you see, they can't understand my language, I speak English, I can't understand their language, they can't understand my language, so I didn't go. So Prabhupada said, no, you must go, at least go and try, what is the harm? He said, okay, Prabhupada, I'll go. The third day Prabhupada asked him again, so did you go? He said, no, Prabhupada, I didn't go. And Prabhupada was upset. He said, what is your problem? He said, Prabhupada, they can't understand my language. Prabhupada said, maybe I need an interpreter. So Prabhupada said, fine, go, take an interpreter and go, but go. So then he very reluctantly, because Prabhupada said so many times it doesn't look nice, so he took an interpreter and then he went. Now he just very reluctantly took some books of Prabhupada, took a life membership form, and then he went to a shop, one of the shops in Indore. So he started explaining in English, I am a disciple of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, and I have come to make you member and all, whatever. And the interpreter, he was just translating it. After the whole presentation is over, maybe it just took 5 minutes, immediately the shopkeeper took out the checkbook and said, so, what is your membership? How much? So he said, 1,111. Said, very well. He immediately wrote a check and gave it to him. Now Hamsadutta Prabhu was surprised. I didn't even make any endeavor to impress him. I neither gave a big presentation. How could this happen? So he got encouraged. He went to the second shop. Again the same thing repeated. The shopkeeper immediately took out the checkbook, wrote the check. Then he went to the third shop, immediately took out the checkbook and wrote the check. And then Hamsadutta Prabhu says that at that time I thought, why am I thinking that I am the one who is doing it? When Prabhupada has asked me to do it, he is the one who is actually doing it. He's just giving me credit, Why didn't I take the opportunity? I was so reluctant. So when a guru gives a instruction, he also gives you the strength to execute it, But the whole point is, if we think I'm the one who is going to do it, then the whole problem starts. The thing is, he's going to do it. He just wants to give you credit. So just go ahead and grab the opportunity. So here we see Srila Prabhupada was so sweet, so sweet. He never saw a fault in others, and of course he never had any fault himself. So that was nidosha, right? So how do we become nidosha? How can we become faultless? Well, we can become faultless if we can engage our senses in Krishna's service. That's the only way. Because as long as these senses are engaged to satisfy our own self, they will agitate us, and then we will start committing activities or doing things which we are not supposed to do. And then ultimately we'll become full of fault. But if we engage our senses in serving Krishna, then they are under our control. There is no harm in using the senses, but use it for Krishna. This is something like, when you can't play with a snake is definitely going to bite you because it has poison. But if you remove the venom from the snake, then you can actually play with the snake. Just like in India, you see this street circus, and then you'll have small little boys, 4 or 5 year old, and they'll be playing with the snake so fearlessly because they know that the venom has been removed, so there is nothing to worry. So same thing with us. The venom of the senses is when we try to please ourselves. But when we remove the venom, that is, we engage our senses in Krishna's service and purify them, then those senses become our best friends, and then we can also become faultless. Faultless doesn't mean that we won't commit mistakes. We may, because that is a tendency to commit mistake, to be illusion, to speak lie. This is a Kali Yuga tendency. But the only thing is, if we are doing our 100% and trying 100% to engage our senses in Krishna's service, even if we do make any mistake, will not be taken as a mistake. Because we are sincerely trying to serve Krishna, who is faultless. We are sincerely trying to connect to Krishna, who is perfect. Then we become perfect. So, of course, there's this so many stories I can go on with this quality of Srila Prabhupada, but we'll try to complete as many as qualities possible. So we'll jump to the next quality, vadaanya. The next quality is vadaanya. Vadaanya means magnanimous, yeah. Definitely Srila Prabhupada was vadaanya, such a golden-hearted person. He was freely distributing the love of Godhead to everybody. So kind to everybody. We must have heard endless examples of how Srila Prabhupada was so kind to devotees. He was so beautiful-hearted. He was having so much empathy for everybody, right? We know this beautiful story of Buddhimanta Das, the first book distributor of ISKCON, how he once went with Keshav Prabhu, the LA temple president, to meet Srila Prabhupada. His first meeting with Srila Prabhupada, and he was so nervous. And he hadn't worn any kurta because it was his first meeting with Prabhupada, and he didn't have any clean kurta. And how he goes and meets Prabhupada, and Prabhupada, when he looks at him, Prabhupada says, how come you're not wearing anything? It's very cold. You don't have anything. And then he asked his secretary that, give one of my kurta to him. And then how Buddhimanta Prabhu kept that kurta. I think it recently expired. How he kept that kurta with him. And how it was such an inspiration for him to go on, and how once he also shared that kurta with one of the devotee who was not so inspired to continue staying in ISKCON, and Buddhimanta Prabhu traded with him that if you promise me that you will stay in ISKCON, I'll give this Prabhupada's personal kurta to you. So Prabhupada was so kind and so sensitive that this person is feeling cold. In fact, I remember Trinakarta Prabhu was once sharing that how, in Vrindavan, when Prabhupada was giving class, he asked the devotees, are you feeling cold? Because they were all sitting down and it was winter in Vrindavan. And then devotees said yes, and then he had a devotee go to Agra immediately the next day and get some carpets from there. So he was very, very sensitive to the devotees, what they are eating, where they are sitting. It was so sweet to them. In fact, there is a pastime in Visakhapatnam. When Srila Prabhupada came here in February 1972, he was staying in Puri Maharaj's ashram, and how he made sure that everybody had very nice prasadam. He used to personally, walk up and down when the devotees were eating, and he used to make sure that everybody ate well. But then it so happened that devotees ate so well that next day morning, nobody got up for Mangalarti. Everybody was sleeping. And that was right in front of the Gaudiya Math. There were some huts where the devotees were staying. So next day morning, Prabhupada went with his cane, and then he was opening all the door and he was waking up. Hey, come on, wake up. What is this? You are sleeping still, Mangalarti. And the devotees are like all sleepy, and they get up and it's Prabhupada. And then they immediately bow down and they just start Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya. So the moment they say that, the devotees who are in the next hut, they know, Acha, Prabhupada is waking up. So they are immediately beforehand, they are also, they are awake, and they also start that Namo Om Vishnu Padaya. And Prabhupada gave them a nice beating with a cane, stop that Namo Om and go for Mangalarti. Come on, get up everybody. So, and I remember there was reading about one incident, how the devotees were complaining that Prabhupada, the mosquitoes are biting us a lot, the Western devotees. So then Prabhupada asked his secretary that why don't you give them mosquito nets? So he bought some 17 mosquito nets for everybody. After that also devotees were complaining that mosquitoes are biting. So Prabhupada one day in the middle of the night at 2 o'clock, he got up and he called his secretary. Why are the devotees still complaining that the mosquitoes are biting? Why not you go and check them? So his secretary, he went, opened the room to check the devotees. And then he saw what the Western devotees did is, they had the mosquito net wrapped around them as a blanket and they were sleeping because they didn't even knew how to use the mosquito net. It is not supposed to be wrapped like a blanket. It has to be hung somewhere. And then he taught them, not this way, you have to hang it. Otherwise, definitely the mosquitoes are going to bite you. So like that, you see, there's so many beautiful incidents of how he was personally taking care of everybody. And then there is one incident of how once when Srila Prabhupada visited New Dwarka, and then somebody told him that Jadurani Mathaji is not feeling well. And nobody knew the reason why. She was so sick and fever, and even though they had shown to some doctor, nobody was able to cure her, and she was so weak. So then Prabhupada said, I want to see her. So then they brought her literally in the wheelchair, because she was not able to walk. So they put her in the wheelchair and they brought her to the first floor, and then somehow she crawled from the wheelchair, paying obeisances to Srila Prabhupada. Now, one thing that Prabhupada was very particular about was that he was never physically touching anybody. Even if we hear from Srila Prabhupada disciples, they tell us that very rarely he will touch somebody. He's so careful. But then he, as a doting father, he actually touched Jadurani Mathaji on her forehead to check how much fever it was. And then he patted and said, all right, it'll be fine. And lo and behold, it was fine. Within 2 days, she was cured of her fever. And on the third day, she was fit and fine. So definitely we understand that Prabhupada just took away her karma or whatever. So Prabhupada was so kind, and somebody like Prabhupada was in the mood of Vasudev Datta. Just want to take away everybody's karma and just give everybody the love of Godhead. So beautiful. So then, of course, there's another one, a very, very beautiful story of one devotee from Puerto Rico, how, he had invited Srila Prabhupada that Prabhupada, this Puerto Rico is a very beautiful place. It is one of the island in Caribbean. It is like Hawaii of the East. Why not you come? And he had given this invitation to Srila Prabhupada in 1977, and when Prabhupada was not feeling well. But just see Prabhupada's heart. Because he was requesting so affectionately, Prabhupada said, okay, I'll come. I'll come to the Hawaii, of East Coast. I'll definitely come. And then after that, the devotee went back to his temple. And then he came to know that within 2-3 months, Prabhupada left his body. So he was very sad that Prabhupada promised me that he will come, but Prabhupada never came. Now, to his surprise, what happened is that a couple of months ago, before Prabhupada left the body, one of the devotees was sharing with him that there is one particular devotee who is not doing so well in his Krishna consciousness. Just to help him, Prabhupada told him that you can have my murti. Usually when the guru is alive, we're not supposed to worship his murti, because it's dangerous, because our karmas get transferred, they don't usually allow that. But for this particular devotee, Prabhupada said, okay, you can worship my murti. But this devotee was not so serious in Krishna consciousness. So instead of worshipping the murti, he was actually using Prabhupada's murti as an incense stand. So when this other devotee saw that, he was very unhappy, and he thought that one day I'll just take away this murti and I'll send it to Puerto Rico. So he had asked this temple president that if I send that murti to you, will you worship? And he had said casually, yeah, why not? And it actually happened. When Prabhupada left his body, and this devotee was lamenting that, oh, Prabhupada never came. And one day he gets a phone call, and the Puerto Rico temple, we have some luggage for you, please come and pick it up. So he just goes and picks up that cargo, comes to the temple and opens it, and he says, it's Prabhupada's murti. So then now he understands that when Prabhupada said, yes, I'm coming and I will come, what he meant is, yes, I'm coming, So he did come, and he did keep his promise, and then they worshipped him in that temple. So yes, Prabhupada is vadaanya, such a magnanimous heart he has. He gets so easily melted. Is para dukhi, immediately wants to go all out in helping when somebody asks help from him. The next quality is mridu. Mridu, a devotee is supposed to be very mild. That is one of the quality of Vaishnava. Mridu means non-violent. Mridu means one who is not agitated, very, very soft. So we see that quality in Prabhupada. Once Hamsaduta Prabhu was sharing that when he was Prabhupada's secretary, he had a hard time. He said that everybody used to go to Prabhupada and say, Prabhupada, can you come and give lecture in our place on Monday, this, that? And Prabhupada said, yeah, sure. And then they used to go and tell Hamsaduta Prabhu, who is a secretary, look, Prabhupada said he's going to come for our program, so write down. And he used to say, how can Prabhupada come? Monday already there are 3 classes booked or 2 classes booked. How can Prabhupada come? And then they used to get upset with Hamsadutta Prabhu. What is your problem? If Prabhupada is ready to come, what is your problem? You write it down. And then one day Hamsadutta Prabhu got all vexed up. And he just went to Prabhupada and said, Prabhupada, you keep saying yes, yes, yes to everybody. You have so many classes. What do you want me to do? And then Prabhupada says, very, very humbly, very sweetly, he says, I can't say no. I can't say no. If somebody asks me, come and speak about Krishna, I can't say no to anybody. How can I say no? Tell me. How can I say no? That's why I say yes. But how you will manage, to take me to this program, that is your problem. You take care of it. And then Hamsadutta Prabhu, he also started the same thing. Anybody used to come and ask for Prabhupada program, he used to say, yes, yes, okay. But actually when the day used to arrive, when he has to go for the program, then he used to sit and decide, this program, this many people will come, this program, this many, which will be more beneficial. He used to take Prabhupada there. So that was Prabhupada's mood, very, very soft, can't say no to anybody. In fact, once Shyam Sundar Prabhu was sharing that how once they were in Mexico and they were staying in somebody's house, some Christian person's house, and they had given a very beautiful room to Prabhupada. So just after 10-15 minutes, Prabhupada rang the bell and asked Shyam Sundar to come immediately. So Shyam Sundar Prabhu came. What happened, Prabhupada? Then Prabhupada said, look, they have put the picture of Jesus Christ here, the picture where he's crucified. And Prabhupada was crying, seeing that picture. And he said, they have killed their guru because they want to commit sins. Shyam Sundar, can you remove this picture from here? So now imagine how beautiful heart of Prabhupada, seeing that picture of Jesus Christ being crucified, he's getting tears in his eyes and he says, please remove this picture from here. So that is Prabhupada's heart, very, very soft. So yeah, he's like the coconut. He looks hard from outside, apparently because he has to train his disciples because they don't know nothing. But actually he's very, very soft, I was, just a couple of days ago, I was sharing this beautiful incident about Bhakticharu Swami Maharaj. In his book, Ocean of Mercy, he has shared this beautiful pastime of how once Prabhupada asked him to make some orange juice. So there were no oranges in the kitchen. So he thought in his mind, it looks so foolish, you go and tell your guru when he asks you for orange juice, sorry Prabhupada, there are no oranges. Why to say like that? I'll just go to the market, get them, make it and give it to him. So he went to the bazaar, got the oranges and then he's trying to make it. Now meanwhile Prabhupada is thinking, how much time does it take to just give a simple orange juice? So he's just putting bell. And Bhakticharu Maharaj comes in, yes Prabhupada? Yeah, what about my orange juice? Yeah, I'm making it, Prabhupada. I'm just bringing it. And then after 5 minutes, Prabhupada again rings the bell. Yes, what about my orange juice? Yes, Prabhupada, just now I'm bringing another 2 minutes. And Prabhupada's getting all upset that this is heights, How much time does it just take to squeeze an orange and make a juice? And then finally, when after Prabhupada keeps on ringing the bell, out of anger, finally Bhakticharu Maharaj comes in with the juice. And then he's standing there, with the tray and the juice like this. And Prabhupada doesn't take it. He said, I don't need your juice. Take it. I don't want it. And he's just standing there. And tears are flowing from his eyes also. Because, he displeased Prabhupada. So he's just standing there. And Prabhupada is not taking it. He keeps standing there, patiently waiting. And after 5 minutes, Prabhupada just takes the orange juice and he drinks it. And then after drinking, he's supposed to wash his hand. But now because all this issue happened, Maharaj forgot to bring the bowl where he has, Prabhupada will be washing hands. So he runs to the kitchen and gets the bowl and then Prabhupada washes hand. Now because of all this thing happened, he forgot to get the napkin. So now he can't again run back. So what he does is, there's a almara next to Prabhupada where the new handkerchiefs are kept. So he immediately opens the almara, takes out a new napkin and gives to Prabhupada. And then Prabhupada just dries his hand. And then tears come in Prabhupada's eyes. And then Prabhupada says, You are trying to serve me so nicely. But see how I am getting angry on you. Don't mind. I'm an old man. Na? Sometimes I get angry like this. You should not mind. Old people are like that. You should not mind what old people say. And Bhakti Charu Maharaj says, he's getting angry was okay. That was not so bad. But when he said sorry, that was very bad. I said, then I started crying loudly like a baby. Prabhupada, don't say sorry to me, See, because you have that right to scold me, to chastise me. So that is Prabhupada. He showed all that anger probably because he's thinking, why is my disciple not efficient? An orange juice should not take that much time. Cooking means it should take this much time. Making juice means it should take this much time. Making chapati means, he knows that, right? Because he himself is an expert cook. So what he's probably thinking is, why he has to be so late? But at the same time, if you see his heart, it is like soft like a rose petal. He himself feeling bad, He says that you boys and girls, you're serving me so nicely, So he's so much moved by their service. You're serving me so sincerely, he says, So that is Prabhupada, He's mridu, very, very soft-hearted person, Okay, so the next quality, shuchi. Shuchi means a devotee is clean. He's clean inside and he's clean outside. Shuchi does not mean only taking bath 3 times in a day and wearing clean clothes, but shuchi also means that one is clean in the heart, one is clean in the mind. That is also shuchi, right? So Srila Prabhupada was very particular about cleanliness, We see that devotees were afraid to cook with him. Because cooking with him is like, you have to be so on your toes. Because even if one peel of potato will fall on the ground in the kitchen or something, he'll be so upset. He said, you are a brahmana. You're supposed to, you have to keep cleaning the platform, keep putting the right thing in the bin, and everything has to be so perfect, He said, this is how a brahmana cooks, In fact, I remember reading about one Mathaji called Kaushalya Mathaji. So she was explaining that how when Prabhupada had come to Gorakhpur, Kaushalya Mataji had the service of cleaning Prabhupada's room. So she had a cloth, she was dipping it in the bucket and then she was cleaning it. And then Prabhupada said, no, this is not the way to clean. He said, no, go and bring another bucket of fresh water. So then she brought another bucket. Then Prabhupada said, now keep like this 2 buckets. So in one bucket you dip the cloth and then you know what? Prabhupada himself did it. He himself did it, the founder Acharya of International Society for Krishna Consciousness with thousands of disciples around the world and so many branches. He dipped the cloth in the bucket and then he wiped the floor and then he said, look, now you put it in this bucket and now again you rinse it, now you put back in this bucket and this is how you do it, and he did it and he showed. So that means we understand that how for Prabhupada cleanliness is so important. For that he's ready to show it by himself. So there's one more pastime I remember which happened in Hyderabad. In Hyderabad, we have a beautiful farm. So Prabhupada was on a morning walk, and after some time he got tired. So then he wanted to sit under a tree. Now that tree had a nice cemented platform. So when Prabhupada was just about to sit there, he saw that it was dirty. Because yesterday they had a feast, they had a festival, they had a program, and nobody had cleaned that place. They had taken prasadam there. So there was this dry rice and dal, everything stuck. So what Prabhupada's secretary did is, he was always carrying this small knife, pocket knife with which you cut fruits. So he immediately took out the knife from the pocket and he started scrubbing it, scratching it, because that rice and dal had become hard. So he's just removing it to clean it. And Prabhupada got so upset. He said something like this, okay, I'm paraphrasing it definitely, but he said, this knife is not good enough for this, maybe it's good enough for cutting your throat. Now, this is what I have read, devotees. I'm paraphrasing it, but this is what he said. He said, this is good for cutting your throat, not for cleaning this place. This is not the way it's supposed to be clean. A Brahman should know how to clean things. Go and get some water and clean it, not with the knife scrapping it. So then the disciple, he went and brought some water, and then he cleaned the whole place with water. So yeah, Prabhupada was so very particular about shuchi. Everything has to be neat and clean, clean. See, as devotees, how do we get that quality? So we have to make sure that not only outwardly we are clean, but even inside, by restricting our senses in the information that we are providing to our senses. Sometimes we are hearing, reading, seeing content which may not be conducive for our Krishna consciousness. So we have to be so careful. It may not be anti-devotional content, but it may be non-devotional. And once we start engaging ourselves in non-devotional activities, because they actually seem very harmless in the forefront, slowly from non-devotional, when we start doing anti-devotional, that transition may happen any time. So devotees should be so careful that they don't engage in watching, hearing, reading contents which are non-devotional. And by that way we can keep our minds shuchi, clean and pure. Of course, I'm not doing justice to all these beautiful qualities, because I'm just, I'm not walking through these qualities, I'm running through them actually. Otherwise, this each and every quality is a class in itself, with hundreds of examples, analogies related to Srila Prabhupada's life, how he exemplifies these qualities and how we can actually apply them in our life in different ways, in different stages, in different context, Of course, for those who are Telugu-speaking devotees, I've given 14 hours of class on this subject, with which they can always refer to, or how each and every quality can be applied in our lives. So we'll take one more quality and then we will end it here. Next quality is akinchana. Akinchana. What does it mean by akinchana? Akinchana means without material possession. So this is very, very important quality that a devotee needs to have. We see in Srimad Bhagavatam, Kunti Devi also mentions, Kunti Devi says, "My Lord, you are akinchana gochara." You are easily approached by materially vanquished devotee. So devotees means akinchana. He's not attached to material possession. He's not only he's attached. He's if you just take it in a literal sense, then you will think, oh, does it mean that if I have to be Vaishnava, then I should be poor? Then only I can be called as a Vaishnava? No, it's not like that. It's about, possessing something. There are two things. One is you physically possess money, property, riches. That is physical possession. But as a devotee, if you think that all these are property of Krishna, then you're actually not possessing anything. And this is what it means by devotee being akinchana. That means he may have a lot of money, he may have a lot of opulence, but he doesn't think that it is he who has it. He thinks that it is Krishna's. He thinks that his position is just like a cashier of a bank who just counts the money on the behalf of the bank, but at the end of the day, he knows that this money belongs to the bank. So if a devotee is in that mindset where he thinks this is Krishna's, this belongs to Krishna's. My house, this is not my house, this is Krishna's house and I am residing here, I am staying here. Then he is akinchana, because though he is having it, but he is not thinking that it is his. That means he doesn't possess anything. And those who are, materially not attached, then Krishna is very easily available to them. So we see in Srila Prabhupada's life, okay, he was the founder acharya of so many branches, of so much money was coming in and out. But if you see himself in his personal life, he was an akinchana, nothing much he had, just a set of few clothes, a typewriter, maybe some cassette recorder, umbrella, a few little things. That's all. Very simple life, See, this topic needs to be explained properly, because sometimes devotees get confused. So they may think that you said Prabhupada is akinchana, very simple lifestyle. But then we say Prabhupada was moving around in a Rolls Royce or a Mercedes, or no, we have to very, very carefully understand this concept of akinchana. Personally, Prabhupada had no such desire to accumulate or get anything. But when he was offered, he simply accepted to purify the person who was offering it. For example, there was once one Indian businessman who had a shop of watches. So Prabhupada had gone to visit him. So he was very lovingly asking Prabhupada that, Prabhupada, you came first time to my shop, please pick up one watch, I would like to gift it. And then Prabhupada said, showed to him, I have a watch. So then after some time, after 5 minutes, again he said, but Prabhupada, just take any one watch. And those, so Shrutakirti Prabhu says in his book, and those watches were so expensive, maybe $10,000, $1,000, all very, very expensive watches. And Shrutakirti Prabhu was thinking in his mind that maybe Prabhupada should just pick up one, and so that whatever Prabhupada is now wearing, I can have it as prasadi. But Prabhupada was not picking any, and this man was insisting. And then Prabhupada again said, I have a watch and it is working. I don't need a watch. So sometimes he was very kind to some people by accepting their gifts, so if it is a ring or a watch, just to purify them. But personally, he had no such desire that I want to keep this or I want to wear something expensive. Like I remember reading somewhere that, when Prabhupada was not well in Vrindavan in the final days, and Tamal Krishna Maharaj was bringing so many different Kaviraj and some of the other doctors. So everybody used to come and give some consultation, but Prabhupada was not taking any medicine. So finally, when one Kaviraj left, whatever prescription he gave, Tamal Krishna Maharaj actually brought the medicines. And he said, Prabhupada, so many are giving you prescriptions, but you're not taking anything. I just bought it. Please take it. And then Prabhupada said, no, I just want to engage them in some service. That is why I'm just, allowing them to touch me, see my pulse. I don't need these medicines. So Tamal Krishna Maharaj says that then I understood that what he simply wants to do is just wants to allow them to render some service to him so that they get purified. So personally, he has no such a desire, But when devotees offer something, and when he wants to show his special mercy on them, and then he just accepts their, gift. I'll tell you this one very last beautiful story, and then I'll end it here. It is in Shrutakirti Prabhu's book, where he talks about how once they were in Vrindavan, and suddenly Srila Prabhupada, raised his voice and shouted Shrutakirti Prabhu's name, and he came running. He thought, what happened to Prabhupada? And then Prabhupada said, look, the monkey has taken my footwear, my chappal. So then Shrutakirti Prabhupada tells him that, come behind me. And Prabhupada takes his cane, and Prabhupada takes some sweets, and then he goes behind the monkey to get back his chappal. And you should read it in his book rather than hearing from me, because he explains it so beautifully. He says, I felt as if I'm going on a war with my guru, as if we are going to have a big war with the monkey, and I'm in the army of Prabhupada, and we are behind him, and we are on a mission, and Prabhupada is leading me, and we just go. And then Prabhupada is trying to allure the monkey that, look, either I'm going to beat you, give back my chappal, or take some sweets and give back my chappal. But the monkey is like scorning and making faces at Prabhupada, and Prabhupada is also making faces, and all this war is going on. And then the monkey looks at Prabhupada, and purposely looking at Prabhupada, he actually tears Prabhupada's footwear. And then Prabhupada is like defeated, and he says, forget it, he has spoiled the chappal, I can't use it anymore. He turns back. And Shrutakirti Prabhu is like, but I thought, no, I will get that chappal somehow. And if I get that chappal, then I'll keep it as a prasadi, Prabhupada's memory. So he calls Girish, one of the boy in the guest house. And both of them, they work hard and somehow get the chappal back from the monkey. And then he, like a small school-going boy, he excitedly runs inside and says, Prabhupada, I got your chappal. And then, he thought Prabhupada will say, now it is spoiled, what I'll do, leave it. So Prabhupada looks at it, examines it and says, not bad, stitch it, and give it, I'll wear it. And then Shrutakirti Prabhu is like, oh no, I thought I'll get it. But Prabhupada says, I'll use it. And he actually used it for a few months after that. So why I'm giving this example is akinchana. He such a simple person, you know. He's a founder actually of such a big movement. He doesn't have to stitch that chappal and wear, but a simple person. It's not attached to anything, bare minimum, whatever it is. And whatever he did is only for the service of Krishna and for propagating Krishna consciousness, but nothing, personally, he was not interested. Very, very simple lifestyle he had. And then we can understand, even today, Prabhupada's biological family is very much there in Calcutta. And in fact, we had once invited his son Vrindavan Prabhu to our ISKCON Vishakhapatnam temple. He gave some classes also. Of course, now he expired recently, but at length we spoke to him and all, and we were amazed that Prabhupada frankly didn't do much for them actually. So he was not trying to make any personal profit or benefit his personal family by, though ISKCON organization as such has so much Lakshmi, but his family was living very, 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 very simply, and his whole goal was just to preach Krishna consciousness and spread Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, you see, nowadays there are cases where people do exploit power and position, but we see in Prabhupada's case he was a pure devotee, and he was really an akinchana by heart. There is no harm of earning money and having possessions or rich, but that money should be in our pocket and not in our heart. That is very important. We can be rich, but you should know where what should be placed. Money should be placed in the pocket and not in our mind and not in our heart. Heart should be a place for Krishna to reside. So that is very important. If we can make that distinction, then even if you are a very, very rich man, you can still become a pure devotee of Krishna. But sometimes the people keep Krishna in the pocket, in the money purse, they have a photo, but in the heart there is money. So that should not be there, pocket money and heart Krishna. That is very important. So, so that's about it. We think we completed around 9 qualities out of 26 qualities of a Vaishnava. And then on some other time or some other forum or some other day, we'll try to complete the rest of the qualities. I'm sorry, I actually planned to complete all 26, but I have this very bad habit of speaking too much, and almost every time I end up doing like this, and not completing my topic because I get into something and then into something. So I'll end it here. If anybody has any questions, they can ask, and I'll hand it over to Divyanam Prabhu. Thank you so much, everybody. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. Many. My God, many. I would no. I'll keep it for the next session whenever we plan with Richmond devotees, because I would like to explain it in the way I want to explain it and not cut it short. One of the very favorite pastimes of Srila Prabhupada. I would like to explain the whole thing. That may take another 20 minutes. So I'll keep you in suspense, and whenever we have the next session of this series, I'll definitely start with my favorite pastime of Srila Prabhupada. Thank you, Mathaji. How can we develop enthusiasm to serve Srila Prabhupada? Well, we have enthusiasm to serve somebody only when we love somebody. And how do we love somebody is when we value that person. How do we value that person is when we have information on that person. When we have gratitude for that person. Only then, can we serve him. Unless and until you have gratitude for somebody. Like for example, once I had this workshop with our congregation devotees here in Vizag years ago. I was giving the Sunday class, and then I asked one devotee, come on, say thank you to me. So he said, thank you, Mathaji. And then I said, now close your eyes and remember one particular exchange that we had where, I did something for you, and then he just remembered it for 2 minutes. And I said, now say thank you to me. And then he said, thank you. And I said, tell me what was the difference, I asked you to say thank you, you said it, but that was mechanical. But now when you remembered a particular exchange that we had and then you said thank you, it was so beautiful coming from the heart. So similarly, if we want to have gratitude for Prabhupada, we'll have to associate with those whose lives Prabhupada has personally touched. And when we see the gratitude they have for Prabhupada, then that love is also infectious. When we associate and serve them, then we will also one day develop that love for Srila Prabhupada. Actually, Srila Prabhupada has personally touched all of our lives also. It's not that he has, because he gave physical association to his disciples, it's only through him. But the only thing is sometimes we are so much covered by so many layers that we don't even realize that in so many ways Prabhupada has touched our lives and changed our lives. We take it very, very lightly. But yeah, of course, in every devotee's life, one such time will come where they will literally feel it that, yes, Prabhupada, this thing has changed in my life because Prabhupada came into my life. Because what happens is we get mercy from so many other sources also. So I'm trying to speak frankly, not trying to put Prabhupada's, because we associate with devotees on Sunday feast program. We must have heard some class, some devotees association. We got enthusiastic into Krishna consciousness. But we cannot understand what is the hand behind it. Who is behind that person who is giving us mercy? This is something like, when a small boy is always thinking that my mother is so sweet to me, so nice to me, so kind to me, she's taking care, but the small boy doesn't understand that mother is able to do all this because the father earns the money and he's, because he's not having much association. Same thing is with us, because, we think this devotee is nice to me, that devotee is so kind to me, this devotee brought me into Krishna consciousness, but we don't understand that the source of everything is Srila Prabhupada. So now to get that understanding, we need to get more information. So the more we hear about Prabhupada, his pastimes, associate with devotees who have associated with him, and slowly follow the process of Krishna consciousness seriously. And then when our heart gets purified, then every moment as we grow into Krishna consciousness, our gratitude towards Prabhupada also increases. And when gratitude increases and our love increases, then we want to serve. Because the moment we are in love, the thing that you want to do is serve. Love means serve. And then you will have that enthusiasm that, what should I do for Prabhupada? He's done so much for me. How do I reciprocate back to him? So then that feeling will, really not mechanical, but will come from inside. So of course, there's so many other things I could have to say about it, but this is what is coming on the top of my mind immediately. It's more of association, more of reading and hearing about Prabhupada, and the more we get serious in Krishna consciousness, the more the layers are out, the more clearly, when the dirt from the window pane is removed, then the vision will be so clear. So the more seriously we follow, the more we will understand the importance of Srila Prabhupada in our lives. Thank you. Okay, so the question is that if the devotee is performing something and he got success, so the credit goes, is it okay to accept the credit, or we should give the credit to the spiritual master? My Dandavat Pranam first of all to Bhadra Prabhu, Hare Krishna Prabhuji. So, I'm the one who's supposed to be asking you question, Prabhu. Okay, so what I understand is that, it is okay to take the credit, but the only thing is, depends upon who is taking the credit. Sometimes devotees like us who are new in Krishna consciousness, when we try to take credit, sometimes ego creeps in. So it's always good to pass on the credit. I like that example of baked potatoes. When the baked potatoes are very hot right from the oven, and if you try to eat them, there's always a chance that you may burn your tongue. But if you just pass it on and you pass it on and you pass it on, then by the time you pass, the mother passes to the father and the father passes to the child, it becomes a little cool and edible and eatable. So this is what happens when we directly try to take credit. There are always chances that some kind of an ego may crop in. But when we just keep passing and keep passing to the spiritual master, then we are safe. So basically, we are doing that for our own safety and our own safety. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mathaji. Mathaji, there are a few more questions now coming. More questions now, or maybe next session?
One more.
One more question.
Last one more. Yeah.
Devotee or Richmond devotee Rudra Vash, he asked you a question before also on screen. He wants to ask, so I'm going to unmute him so that he can answer.
Oh my God, the guy who asked tough questions. Acha, acha. Okay, okay.
Rudra Vash, go ahead.
What's ego mito?
What is that?
You said something.
What is your question, Rudra Vash?
Hare Krishna Mathaji.
Hi, Krishna.
Ego.
What is ego? Oh my God. What is ego? Ego is edging God out. When you are thinking too much about yourself, and when you forget Krishna in the whole picture, then that is ego. See, this is something like, you see, this is this whole body, and whatever work my hand is doing is because it's getting energy from my body, right? When I eat food, it goes into the stomach, and then it forms blood, and that gives energy to all my hand and legs. But if the hand starts thinking that I'm doing it on my own, I don't need any help from anybody, that is ego. So we are all part and parcel of Krishna, and we're able to do everything because it is Krishna who is empowering us, or rather it is Krishna who is doing it. But when we edge God out, E-G-O, edging God out, removing God out from the picture, and we think that we are doing everything, then that is ego, in simple words. Or you can say, when you forget Krishna, or when you forget that Krishna is your partner in whatever you are doing, okay? Whatever we are doing in our life, it's a partnership work. There are two people working. One is a active partner and the silent partner. So Krishna is our partner in everything. But when we forget him, then that is called ego. Is it okay, Rudra? I just hope. Thank you, beta. Okay. Hare Krishna.
सब कृष्णा कृष्णा कृष्णा